A summer spending spree. The Senate just passed a $26 billion bill to bail out states. Nancy Pelosi calling back House members to vote on the same bill next week. States and cities are already making hard choices, like Albuquerque's Republican mayor. He's cutting union workers' pay, holding the line on taxes. But if a bailout is coming, really, where's the incentive to keep the cutting? Mayor Richard Berry joins me right now. Mayor, good to have you. You know, I commend you, sir, for your discipline. I'm just wondering, others who are trying to do the same thing might be less inclined to be so disciplined if you know you got free money coming from Nancy.
Well, you know, Neil, thanks for having me. I appreciate the time today.
Same here.
Families across the country are having to sit at their kitchen tables and make tough decisions, and I don't think that there's any reason that governments across the country, and mayors are really on the front line of that, shouldn't have to make those same tough decisions. We have to match our recurring expenses with our recurring revenues, and sooner or later we have to make the structural fixes to the budgets so that we can have a sustainable government moving forward and get back to a government that we can afford, both at the local, at the state, and the national level. But
you would take whatever money is coming Albuquerque's way if this thing were signed into law, right?
I haven't seen the details of it. I'm in a conference the last day or so. Right. What I want to make sure of is that we don't take one-time revenues and supplant those into recurring expenses. I think that's one of the concerns I have is let's make sure that we're not building budgets that aren't sustainable because the dollars are one time, and then we find ourselves simply in the same fix that we find ourselves in now, and we haven't really done anything but put a Band-Aid on the problem. I'd rather have some political will and make the tough decisions to structurally fix budgets as we move forward.
So many mayors like yourself who've tried to do the tough decisions and deal with them, and I'll think about Governor Chris Christie in New Jersey and others who've done it without tax increases but really tried to address pension contracts and the like and deal with the unions as you have. It's oftentimes a thankless task, and I'm wondering if residents here, you're complaining about what Washington's doing, aren't they going to uprise against you and say, hey, just take that money and don't argue about it? It's going to save us a lot of grief here.
Well, what we tried to do, Neil, in Albuquerque was during tough economic times, when the private sector doesn't have a demand for goods and services, they can't keep people employed. We're at a time where we have a high demand for government services during these tough times. I wanted to have no tax increases. I wanted to keep people employed during one of the most difficult economic times we've had. And the only thing we had left at that point, after looking for efficiencies and creating efficiencies and getting rid of jobs that we didn't think that we needed, was to go to our employees and say, look, let's go shoulder to shoulder with the private sector. Let's work together and get ourselves back to square, and then our boats can all rise together when the economy improves.
Mayor, we wish you well. Thank you very much.
Neil, thank you.
All right, point. Click sick. What authorities are doing with those nude images of us at airports.
It's tough to